Hey guys, I want to talk for a minute about one of my favorite subjects. If you ask my wife Vanessa, she'll tell you it's true. I want to talk about enjoying God and the opposite of enjoying God, which is idolatry. And for the long time, I did not even understand what idolatry was. I pastored for 15 years. I was in seminary for 3 years before that. And when you said idolatry, I would think of statues, worshiping, bowing down to some kind of a statue. And even though I had read the verse where Paul says that coveting is idolatry, it didn't make sense to me. I just didn't know really what that was. But Paul does say that to covet, which is to really intensely desire something, to intensely desire it, that is actually a violation of the first commandment, where God said we were to have no other gods before him. It's kind of a crazy thing. It's kind of shocking, isn't it? To think that if you have like very, very intense desires for things, that you could be guilty of breaking the first commandment in the Big Ten. Calvin said that our hearts are idol factories. And I think it was probably 10 years ago that I really started to understand better what idolatry is. I read Tim Keller's book, Counterfeit Gods, and it was a game changer for me. And Keller points out that idols are not usually bad things. They're usually good things that we turn into God things. So an idol could be your spouse, could be your car. Those aren't bad things. Well, what happens is that we look to those good things and we turn them into God things. We turn them into ultimate things. And by that, what I mean is that we look to people or to toys or to experiences, maybe a vacation home, and we look to those things and we obsess about those things and we desire them so much that we are looking to them to give us the joy and the peace that only God can give us. And we look to them for joy, for peace, for identity, security. And when that happens, we are guilty of worshiping those things. That's what it is. I think it's been helpful to understand how can I discover what the idols are in my life? Well, probably your idols are the things that when you have free moments where you're not having to work or think about your kids or whatever it might be, you have free moments, your thoughts go to those things. You obsess on those things. You get online to learn all you can about those things. You watch those things on TV. Maybe sports is an idol. Maybe the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are not doing so well this year, that's your idol, to watch hockey. And so we do that because it's an escape. It gives us happiness and peace and joy, we think, that we need. And God all along is saying, hey, wait a minute. That's what I'm for. That's what I want you to know through me. And there's a reason why we don't do that with him, and why we're addicted to all the shiny things and the shiny people. We may be obsessed with having to be in on all the cool stuff, with the in crowd. We know everything that's going on in the Instagram world, Instafan and Pinterest and the news, politics. Politics is a huge idol for a lot of people. That was one of my big ones. I still struggle with it. But we look to those things, to those experiences, to those ways of life to satisfy us, to give us deep satisfaction and identity and peace. And the bad thing is they never will. They can't. And if you're looking, say, to your spouse to provide those needs, you'll wreck your spouse and you'll wreck your life, because they were not built to handle that. Only God is designed to be able to meet our deepest needs. And so when we go looking other places, this is what alcoholism and drug addiction is all about, sex addiction. We run to these things to get relief, to get to escape, to get thrilled, and one of the reasons for this, God is a thrilling, glorious God. I mean, he is the ultimate definition of awesome, thrilling, staggering. That's who he is. And guess what? He made us in his image. He made us like him in the sense that we are wired for glory. We are wired to experience amazing things. This is why this world is so beautiful. So that as we look at it, we go, wow, that's just a tiny reflection of what our God's like. And so I think Paul Tripp is the one that said that if we are not finding our thrills, our awe, he's written a book by that title, Awe, I highly recommend it. If we're not getting our glory fix through God, first of all, we're going to be disappointed eventually. But secondly, we're going to find it somewhere. We're going to get our glory fix somewhere. We're going to go find those thrills. And that's how we are idolaters. It's how we violate the first and most important commandment of having other gods in front of him. And it dawned on me today, I think, that the reason that it's such a shocking phenomenon to us, the idea that just coveting something would be idolatry, is that we really have no clue how thrilling God is. We're really not experiencing him much at all. And so we don't understand that when we're knowing God and enjoying him properly, we are in such awe of him. We're so thrilled by him that all this other stuff, as good as it is, all these shiny things, all these wonderful experiences, they're great. The Bible says every good gift was given to us by God, but they're nothing compared to what his love is, his peace is, his joy is, his protection of us, of what he has done when he came inside of us. I'm talking to believers now, what he has planned for us in eternity, that if we just spend time meditating on that, it's life-changing. And so what's the solution for this? You can get under the pile of guilt about it and feel shamed, and we should feel guilty, but then we should rejoice in the fact, first of all, that God will not stop loving us. He'll never change his mind about us because Christ died for us and we died with Christ, and we're his forever. And so we rejoice in that. We thank him for forgiving us. And then we cry out to him. We get real. We get real with ourselves. We get real with God. And we say, God, whatever it takes, I want to get this out of my life. I want you to be my chief joy. I want you to be my highest treasure, my supreme treasure, as John Piper would say. And then we confess it. And then we say, Lord, help me to approach your word in a completely different way. Help me to so experience you through your word that it's thrilling, that I can't wait to be in your word each day. And in prayer, as we seek him, as we seek to commune with him. And then as we also spend time with people that actually are pursuing God, people that know God, people, not the people that are just casual about God, that would much rather talk about sports or the latest style. We hang with people that have figured out that they've only tapped the surface of what God has for them, and they are pursuing him to know him and to enjoy him above the rest of the things in this world. It's interesting, I know staggering to a lot of people, that 1 John 2:15 says, don't love the world or the things that are in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of God is not in them. It's an amazing statement. And we say, how can I live a life like that? A life without loving the world, in the wrong way? And the answer is that, again, we just have to get to know him. And if we understand, first of all, where we're at, what we're missing, because unfortunately the bar has been set low in the church. And so many Christians think that the Christian life is basically me pursuing the American dream, and I sprinkle a little Jesus on it to sanctify it while I achieve all my worldly goals. That is a dead end. And that's what Jesus died to save us from. And so we have to realize that a lot of the Christians that we look to don't get that and don't even want to get it. But if we want to experience God and we have a clue that there's a lot more, then he will let us find him. And it happens through his word, through prayer, through other godly people. And it's awesome. There's nothing like it. And so I encourage you. The famous story now that John Piper tells about his own life, when he was in seminary, he knew that he was not fully surrendered, not sold out, and he didn't know what to do about it. He had these passions in life, and he said, I just didn't want to give them up. And it was a struggle for him, and he didn't know what he was going to do. He was in the bookstore at Fuller Seminary one day. He pulls out the copy of C.S. Lewis, The Weight of Glory, and he reads that now famous quote where C.S. Lewis says, it would seem that our God does not find our passions too strong, but rather too weak. He said, we fool around with sex and alcohol and ambition when God is offering us infinite joy, infinite joy. And he said this, he said, like a child in the slums who's content to make mud pies because he doesn't understand the invitation for a vacation at the ocean, we are far too easily pleased. That's a great quote. And Piper said once he read that, it was like God said, so you think you understand what thrills are? You think you know what passion's like? You have no idea yet. And it changed his life. And God used him to change mine, to start the process of change, which won't end until Jesus comes back or I go to see him. But that's what he has for us. So I encourage you to consider what I've said, think about it, pray about it. If you want to talk about it, I'd love to do that. And I wish you the best on that. God bless.